ceremony, but beyond that, I don't think that you're going to be doing any running or any walking through the city or along the Embarcadero, correct?
Probably not. Apparently, it's almost impossible. I'm told by telephone that there are just a pack of people, and even a huge number of security people can't move them apart.
You were very optimistic at first that nothing like this would happen. Are you surprised?
No. Wait a minute. I'm still optimistic. I don't think the increased volume of people represents necessarily violence.
Okay. Just peaceful protest.
Absolutely. Aggressive peaceful protest.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Optimistic, Mr. Willie Brown.
Yeah, former mayor, always an
guys.
optimist. Always an optimist.
Always.
Thank you very much.
All right, now we're trying to get Chopper 11 up once again, but the last report was that it was going down Ellis Street. That's what we know so far, and is still being driven on a police bus. Well, right now you're looking at a live shot of Justin Herman Plaza, where the closing ceremonies will take place.
Yeah, you're looking at Justin Herman Plaza. One note on that, we are efforting to get that Chopper 11 shot up for you. It is right now over downtown San Francisco. The last time we saw it was in Ellis. Traditionally, a very difficult spot for us to get a overhead shot, and of course, you know the San Francisco police know that.
But at this point, we can get NBC 11's Christian Captain, who is live there at Justin Herman Plaza with the latest. Christian, what do you know?
Well, there is a huge crowd here, and I think that crowd is largely unaware of what's been going on in terms of loading that torch into a van and driving it around San Francisco. As far as most of the people here know, everything is going perfectly according to plan. Let's go ahead and give you a shot so you can see what the crowd looks like here. There is a very large crowd here, certainly in the thousands. Now, we have supporters on both sides. We can tell you that we saw busloads, literally busloads of pro-Chinese supporters showing up here all day today. There was also a smattering of anti-China protesters who showed up here as well. And let's go ahead and give you a taste of what some of those clashes looked like. Okay, those clashes have been all verbal confrontations so far. For the most part, both sides shouting at each other, but they have been relatively civil. The two sides are, for the most part, a ways apart. They have now kind of coalesced into one very large, very mixed crowd inside Justin Herman Plaza. We've seen a lot of tourists here, certainly, who have just been simply enjoying the scene here. They've been enjoying the sights and sounds. They're hoping to see the torch themselves. Again, there has been a few interactions between the pro-Chinese supporters and the pro-Tibet supporters here at Justin Herman Plaza. But at this point, really the crowd largely unaware of how soon the torch could get here. Again, the crowd not knowing that that torch has been loaded in that van, so they are waiting here. As far as most of the people here know, it's still going on that plan where they're expecting it to arrive here sometime around 3 o'clock. As far as we can tell, they are still planning on having the closing ceremonies here. We can tell you there are lots of bands and musical acts. We've seen lots of Olympic-looking officials walking around in the area. So far, it still appears to be on track that things are going to come to an end here at Justin Herman Plaza. We have a clear path behind us where presumably the torch will be run into this large plaza area. And so far out here at Justin Herman Plaza, it appears that most things are on track.
Okay, Kristen, thank you very much. We want to go away from you for a moment to show you these Chopper Live pictures. We've got them back again. That actually is our Chopper cam that we're using on the floor there. And now you're seeing the whole police caravan leading down to Ellis. The Hotel Essex, as you can see right there. And we understand they're heading toward Van Ness. Someone crossing the street.
Pedestrians, a little dangerous there.
Oblivious to the Olympic torch van at this point.
But at this point, it's still a torch drive and not a torch run. And at the front of that motorcade, if you call it that, it was the Chinese delegation with the Chinese, the cameras from the, I suppose, from the Chinese Olympic Committee. The yellow and the red buses there in the front. And we saw in the back there the men in blue once again.
And I believe that white van is ours with our torch cam that we have on the ground. I'm not sure if that's completely positive, but I believe that may be one of our crews, as you can see from Chopper 11. You know, still very unclear of whether they're just going to drive the torch right to Justin Herman Plaza, which might be one of the alternatives that they're considering, or whether they're going to try to get as close to Market Street as possible, let the runner out, and then make it to Justin Herman Plaza. But right now, it is taking like one of those tour city buses that the tourists often take when they come to San Francisco, to that they take a drive around the city.
And it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. We were in contact with one of the torch runners or torch bearers, you know, our own Rogge, but apparently we lost contact with him, so we don't know where he's being holed up right now or if he's ever even going to be able to, you know, get that torch and run with it. But at this point, as you can see from our live shot from Chopper 11, that torch is being driven perhaps directly to Justin Herman Plaza for the closing ceremony.
What a huge disappointment that would be to so many of the torchbearers that have been undergoing this journey of anticipation and then anxiety of not figuring out, not knowing what was going to happen, so much security detail. If indeed they do not get the opportunity to all hold the torch, it'll certainly come as a great disappointment to them, and a great disappointment really to so many China supporters, Chinese people, Chinese American, which makes so much a part of San Francisco and the Bay Area, that have been waiting for this moment as a source of pride. And it'll probably be a big disappointment to the protesters as well, who wanted to really be able to voice, you know, how they feel about the situation in Tibet. The Falun Gong was going to be out there today. The
Darfur.
Supporters who want, you know, people are asking for Burmese rights.
I think it goes with the old adage that, you know, better be safe than sorry, because if, you know, the Mayor Newsom was talking about it yesterday during his news conference, saying he didn't want people to come up to him after this whole thing saying, why did you do this? Why didn't you do that? Because of the protests that we saw in London and because of the protests that we saw in Paris. They didn't want anyone near that torch.
Well, but I think there's going to be a lot of people questioning whether or not really having the torch run through the streets, as it is intended to do, really even conveys the spirit, the Olympic spirit of what this opening is supposed to be and the travel of the torch. I'm trying to figure out right now exactly where we are. If our producer in the control room could ask the chopper where they are at this point.
Obviously, see, traffic is being affected by all this, stopped in both directions. One direction is just for the motorcade itself.
Okay, we are at Sutter. Okay, so we are on Sutter. The cross street is Sutter. Are we on Van Ness in this? We may be on Van Ness and Sutter at this point. Which is, yeah, we are. That is Van Ness. We are traveling. Actually, they're doing the route